And welcome to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Ozer Culhagil of Elite Income Advisors. Prashant, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Cynthia. How are you?
I am fantastic. Such a pleasure to see you. And Ozer, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
It's so nice to have you both in the studio today because I have had so many people visiting your area, the Maryland area, and they're taking pictures of your show and they're texting me and they're like, these guys are amazing. I love all the information that they're providing and they're helping us navigate through retirement. So you've been very busy. Prashant, I should ask you, what has life been like for you lately in the office?
It's been a whirlwind. I mean, you know, we've been through so much in the last couple of years here, from the pandemic to weird markets and interest rates rising and inflation kind of being at the forefront of what everyone's having to deal with. So I'll tell you what, we've had such a great response from not just our TV watchers, but also the folks that listen to our radio show, the folks that come into our workshops. And so it's been a whirlwind, but it's keeping us busy and we've been able to help a lot of people. So it's been excellent. We're looking forward to continuing that moving forward.
Absolutely. And Ozer, what types of questions do you hear from clients right now? Obviously, the media, they're directing in so many different directions, if you will. People don't know what to believe. They don't know what to listen to. So what are you hearing mostly right now?
I do believe right now most of the question comes back to the inflation.
Yeah.
Inflation is really scaring the people. The rising prices on the interest rates, and the people who is trying to sell a house, buy a house, looking for the mortgages. Mortgage rates are rising, and the same with the loan, like buying a car.
Yeah,
that interest rates were rising. And when we look at all this stuff, the people are thinking about where is it going to go from here, and what did we save, and is the things that we save for all this year, is it good enough for the rest of our life?
Yeah.
I think that's a great question.
Yeah, and I think to kind of build on that, I think what's really interesting when it comes to these questions about inflation and taxes and interest rates rising is we've been through, you know, weird, scary times before, right?
True.
If you're thinking about retiring now, you've probably lived through the 60s and 70s where we went through 4 different bear markets just in that one period of time.
Yeah.
We remember the dot-com bubble, right, in the early 2000s, which was the start of what's called the lost decade of investing, right? We've been through 2008 and then we've been through the pandemic. And so every generation, every point in time has had to deal with adversity when it comes to the markets. But one thing I want to talk about is what makes this market environment, this whole economic environment, completely different than what we've seen in the past, right? So you go back to like the 60s, for example. We went through market volatility, but society was totally different back then, right? It wasn't a debt-based society like it is today.
True. Very
back
good
in the day,
point.
people had pensions, right? And so as you were getting ready to retire, you probably remember your parents are getting ready to retire and they had a pension coming in. They didn't have to worry about rising interest rates because even though interest rates were going up, that was a good thing, right? It wasn't like you were purchasing a house. I mean, unless you were going to purchase a house, you didn't have the revolving credit card debt and student loans and things like that to worry about.
Yeah.
And so what's really interesting is you could go to the bank. You know, I remember stories of my dad telling me you could get 12, 15% interest just on a CD at the bank, right?
And toasters.
Exactly.
Right, and toasters.
So when you look at that, you kind of look at how that compares to today, where we're in a debt-based society, right? If you're trying to purchase a home right now, it's really expensive. What about your student loans that you're helping your kids pay for? Those are not fixed payments typically. They're revolving based on rates.
Sure.
And so now your expenses are going up.
Yeah.
And so the reason I bring this all up is because we have a couple different options on how we're going to deal with this. We could just do nothing and hope that it all works out. I don't think that's a great way to go about it, right?
That sounds scary.
Yeah, good luck on that one. So you have to be proactive about this type of thing, right? So it really comes down to understanding how much income you're going to have coming in retirement and really figuring out whether or not that income is going to be able to rise if inflation stays as high as it is. A huge concern that we're hearing from a lot of not only our existing clients, but the folks that watch our television program and come to our workshops. And we have to address it, and we have to address it right now, because the longer we wait to address this, the harder and harder it becomes to actually put a meaningful plan together that's going to be beneficial for you, quite honestly.
That makes sense. And so when you're establishing what someone needs for their retirement, Prashant and Ozer, I should ask you, is it a list that you make of wants and needs? Is that how you start with someone, or what do you look at exactly to help them determine how much they really do need?
So one thing that we do is we always try to help people work towards an income target. In our office, we call it the monthly income target. When I wrote my book, it's Fiscal Health, Retirement, Wealth.
Great book.
It's your prescription for income generation, tax management, financial peace of mind. One thing I talk about in this book, and Ozer talks about this a lot as well in our office, is the idea of setting a monthly income target. In order to be able to understand whether you can retire, stay retired, and retire on the timeline that you want to retire on, we have to have a target income that we're going to be shooting for.
Okay.
And so the first thing that we'll do with folks typically as we're getting to know you is we'll start to figure out what we need that monthly income target to look like. Once we set that target, can you talk a little bit, Oz, about what we do after we set the target for folks?
When we set the target, let's say there is a couple is looking to retire and they are spending about $8,000 and they need $8,000 income
Per month.
Per month.
Okay.
For this year. So we look at what is their guaranteed income stream coming in right now. They have his Social Security, her Social Security. Sometimes, one of the couples has an old pension coming in, and there is a deficit between the income needs and what is coming in. Then we figure out what can we do to help these people to make sure that income comes in for the rest of their life. We also need to take consideration of the inflation. Because when we look at the inflation, I think Prashant has, some numbers about that, which I looked at it before the show. It's kind of like scary what the inflation was in the last 30 years, what was the inflation in the last 10 years, and can you talk about that?
Yeah. So
Yeah, definitely.
100-year inflation rate, check this out, this is bizarre. 100-year inflation rate is around 3.2%.
Okay.
10-year inflation rate, somewhere around 2.3, 2.4%. The last 1 year inflation rate, 8.6%.
Wow.
It's bizarre. So inflation has really kind of lulled us to sleep over the past years. We haven't really had to worry too much about it. And so that's what we talk about, the importance of having income that's rising in retirement. By the way, for anyone who wants a complimentary copy of the book, Fiscal Health, Retirement Wealth, you're just going to go to retiremaryland.com. You can scan the QR code here right on your screen. That's going to take you to a page here. You'll answer a couple questions about yourself, and we'll mail you a totally complimentary copy of the book, Fiscal Health, Retirement Wealth. There's also a complimentary ebook involved there. And so what we do every show, and for our TV watchers who've been watching for a long time, we're going to open up our phone lines right now. That phone number is 833-308-5200. When you call in to schedule an appointment with us, you'll come in, visit with Ozer, myself, our fantastic team at Elite Income Advisors. And when we sit down with you, we're going to help you put together what we call the Retire Smart Roadmap. Okay, the Retire Smart Roadmap is going to be an opportunity for you to understand where you stand today with your retirement plan. We'll take you through things like your income, making sure that you have enough in retirement, that it's rising. We'll also factor in the impact that taxation is going to have on that income in retirement. We'll talk about market volatility and inflation and, even things like legacy planning. It's so important. So we do this every show. We only have a limited number of spots on our calendar here for the next couple of weeks. So pick up the phone, give us a call. That's 833-308-5200. It's totally complimentary, and there is no obligation. So pick up the phone and call now.
Prashant, thank you so much. Ozer, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call is on your screen. That number is 833-308-5200. We know you're sitting at home today and you have a lot of questions about how to plan your perfect retirement. Prashant and Ozer have the answers for you. Again, all you have to do is take advantage of calling in today, 833-308-5200. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about taxes in retirement. How may they affect you? Stay tuned. We'll be back momentarily.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have, by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
And welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Ozer Culhagil of Elite Income Advisors. Gentlemen, we should probably talk about the fact when people are calling into that phone number because they're so excited to reach both of you, it's actually going into the call center, correct,
Yeah, I
Ozer?
just wanted to make sure the people do understand. When you call that number 833-308-5200, that's our answering system. The people are answering the phone. They are not in our office, unfortunately, because of the weekend and so forth. But when you call, when you leave the message, we're going to call you back.
All right, Ozer, thank you so much. Prashant, obviously, we're talking a lot about just navigating through all of the times that we are in front of right now, inflation specifically.
Yeah.
Let's dive in a little bit further to that. How does inflation impact the retiree overall?
Yeah, this is a great question because we threw out some numbers in the first segment, but I think it's important to put it actually into perspective. So we talked about the 100-year inflation rate being right around 3.2%. We talked about the 10-year rate being around 2.4%, one-year rate around 8.5%. So let's put that into perspective. If you're retiring today, and let's say you had a $100,000 income coming in retirement. Very typical for a lot of our clients. You have a $100,000 income coming in retirement. If we stuck to the 100-year inflation rate, right around 3.2%, that means within 25 years, that $100,000 income need would double. Okay, so you would need 200,000, but that would be 25 years down the road. You're probably well into retirement at that point. So it's lulled you to sleep. It's not that big of a deal. If we look at the 2.4% rate, it's about I'm sorry, I have it backwards. So it's about 30 years on the 3.2. It's 25 years on the 2.4, right? But if you look at 8.6% inflation, that means that your income need would double roughly every 7.5 years.
Wow.
So if you are 63 years old today, getting ready to retire, by the time you turn 70, instead of needing $100,000 of income, you're going to need $200,000.
Oh my gosh.
And then 7 years after that, into your mid-70s, you're going to need $400,000 of income.
Wow.
So this really kind of snowballs. Well, by the time we get 10, 15, 20, 25 years down the road, if inflation stays high, which, by the way, I hope it doesn't,
Right.
but if it stays high, you might need $200,000, $300,000, $500,000 of income. A lot of people haven't saved $1 million, $2 million, right? But for those of you who have, this is a great opportunity to at least get a second look at what you're doing, to structure that income so that it always has the potential of rising in retirement. Okay, I'm sure a lot of our viewers can relate to that. If you think that it's just all going to take care of itself, if you're working with an advisor who hasn't talked to you about this rising income in retirement, it's a huge, huge point of contention. We need to start discussing this stuff. We need to do it right now.
Absolutely. Ozer, what are some of the tools that you can use to help people navigate that if they need to have double what they would typically have in retirement as far as income?
What we do when the people come to our office is, first, we do put together an income for life report. So mapping out their income, we're starting how much they are making right now and what do they bring home net, because that's the most important. What do they bring home net? And what do they spend? So whatever they spend, that's their need. And whatever they go to a vacation or anything like that to splurge themselves, that's the ones. So we go by the net first, then we take a look at it. So Social Security is going to come in, the pension is going to come in. So what is the income going to be? Let's say $5,000, and we need $7,000. So that $2,000, we need to find a way to make sure that that money is going to come in a guaranteed way. We also need to factor in the inflation, because most of the people don't think about this inflation rates right now. And it is very important, like Prashant says, $100,000 today, if the inflation is like this, hopefully it's not going to be, but it's going to be $200,000 in 8 years. That's scary. Have you thought about the Social Security is going to go up that much?
Yeah.
I don't think so. So we have to make sure we find a way to get our income needs guaranteed, so we don't have to worry about the other sides.
I was actually meeting with somebody, someone who came in from the TV show a couple weeks ago. And what was really interesting is they had about $1 million saved for retirement, pretty typical for the folks that come in to visit with us. And they had a need, just like you said, of about $6,000 a month, okay? They only had about $3,500 a month coming in from Social Security after considering things like Medicare and taxes coming out of that. So they had what I would call an income gap of about $2,500 a month. And their concern was, how do we fill this $2,500 a month income gap every single year for the rest of our lifetime without ever running out of money? And what we're working with is about $1 million of retirement assets. So what we were able to do is we were able to sit down with them and show them how they could take about 40% of their portfolio. So they had $1 million. We took about $400,000 of it, and we were able to protect that money. So it's not subject to market volatility. We're able to protect that money and set them up with enough income to make sure that they could fill that $2,500 a month income need. Pretty sweet. Now, that was a very unique situation for them. Not saying that every single person will have that same experience, but what I am saying is that there are ways, there are tools out there that you can harness to close your income gap if you have one. And so if your advisor hasn't talked to you about that, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, it's totally complimentary to come in and visit with us, and we'll take you through our process. Now, our process, when people come in, it's not designed to turn every single person that watches our show into a client. It's not what it's designed for. But what it is designed for is to help you get the information you need to make the best decisions possible. So that's one example that it turned out to be a great success. So
The most important thing is for us, especially Prashant and I, is the education. We like to educate the people first to make sure that they are set for the retirement. Then we can talk about the options later.
Sure. And it's interesting to me when you think about it, obviously, having additional sources of income coming in. A lot of people think about paying off things so they don't have their monthly payment anymore, whether that be credit cards or paying off your car, and then you have that additional money to work with.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. You know, to me, debt is kind of like an anchor that's just dragging you down. I mean, outside of your mortgage, which right now, when rates are really high, you look at it, and if you're at a 2.5% or 3.5% mortgage, that looks pretty darn good right now. But when we look at credit card debt, when we look at student loans, auto loans, those are the types of things that you really want to pay off by the time you get to retirement. That way you don't have an extra $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month that you're responsible for in retirement. Look, when you get to retirement, this is the time of life where you wanted to enjoy yourself. You want to do all the things that you couldn't do while you were working. If you have the proper financial plan in place, you're going to be empowered to do those things, okay? We don't want you to have to sacrifice, but in order to do that, you have to have a plan. So if you call in right now, it's 833-308-5200. We're gonna get you on track to put together a Retire Smart roadmap. It's gonna include an income for life plan. It's gonna map out your income each and every year for the rest of your life, take into account taxes to show you whether or not you're gonna have the income you want. We'll do a Social Security optimization report for you, which will help you coordinate your Social Security benefits to collect them in the most efficient way possible. We'll talk about a portfolio analysis where we'll be able to show you a portfolio stress test, how your accounts are going to react in both a good market and a bad market. And then lastly, we'll take into consideration taxes and how the threat of rising taxes may impact your income in retirement. Starts with that phone call, folks. It's 833-308-5200. Call now.
Prashant, thank you so much. Ozzy, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, that number to call is on your screen, 833-308-5200. We know that you have a lot of questions about how to plan your retirement, how to have your own Retire Smart roadmap. All you have to do is call in 833-308-5200. We're going to take a very short commercial break. I have so much more with Prashant and Ozzy about how to plan your retirement when we return.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
And welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Ozzy Culhagil of Elite Income Advisors. Gentlemen, a great show we're having today, talking about such important topics all surrounding retirement. We briefly mentioned taxes in retirement because I know a lot of people have the idea or the misconception that taxes actually go down in retirement. True or false?
So for a lot of our clients, that is totally false. Okay. And the reason is we have so many people that are federal employees, right? They get these great pensions. We have a lot of clients that work for the local defense contractors right around Fort Meade and those types of things. And they get these great pensions, which is in a way a blessing. In a way, it's also a curse too, because your income, we find that a lot of our clients have higher income in retirement than they actually had while they were working, right? So there's two different things here. Number one is with a higher income in retirement, your tax bracket is either going to stay the same or potentially go up. But the second part of this is this idea that taxes in the future are probably going to be higher, right? So what, you know, I always joke when I do these workshops, and I do them all over Maryland. We do them at out in Pikesville. We do them in Columbia, Ellicott City, right by our office. And every time I'm speaking to a room of 20 or 30 people, I always start by saying, does anyone in the room think that 10 years from now, taxes are going to be lower than they are today? And the answer typically is not a single hand goes up, right? So if we think taxes are going to go up in the future, we got to be able to plan for that, right?
And what happens if someone doesn't plan for taxes in their retirement, Ozzy?
Well, they're going to start taking money out. And when they start taking money out, they're going to see that most of the money they take out is going to go to the taxes. And then we're going to have the income problem that what we talked about. We need $6,500 a month. Then all of a sudden taxes went up from I'm making like 15% to 20%. Then that $6,500 becomes $5,500. How are we going to close that gap? Like we thought about this, that when the taxes go higher, are we going to be able to close this gap? Do we have enough guaranteed income money coming in? Also, do we have enough money on the side? We put it aside for the growth, for the inflation especially.
One thing that's really interesting is we get the question a lot like, okay, I agree with you, taxes are going to be higher, but what can we actually do about it, right? I mean, like that's out of our control whether taxes go up or down in the future. So the way we look at it is you kind of look at some of the new tax brackets that we've seen. The tax brackets, there's more room in each tax bracket now. Like, for example, I think the top tax rate actually added another something like $35,000 or $36,000 to the tax bracket. And what that actually does for us is it gives us the opportunity to look at things like Roth conversions, right? So Roth conversion is simply when you take your pre-tax IRA, your individual retirement account, and you convert it from a pre-tax status to a Roth status. The benefit of the Roth is that it's 100% income tax free for the future, as long as you meet a couple different qualifications, like you hold the account for 5 years, you're over 59 and a half. It's 100% tax free for you, which means you control when you take that money out. And when you take it out, you don't pay any income tax on it. And so if we think taxes are going to be higher in the future, doesn't it make sense to potentially pay some of those taxes today and convert that money into a tax-free status where we never have to pay again, right?
That is a great idea, and I should ask you, why do a lot of advisors shy away from talking about Roth conversions?
So number one, I think I talk about this in the book as well, and like I said, if you want a copy of the book, you go to retiremaryland.com. It's totally complimentary. Answer a couple questions and we'll get you a copy of the book. But one thing is you got to make sure that you're working with a specialist, right? A lot of people know I come from a family of doctors. In fact, my father is Ozzy's doctor.
I love that.
But with that being said, I look at it and I say, you want to work with a specialist, right? So if I always say, if I need knee surgery, I'm not going to go see my general practitioner. I'm not going to go see my cardiologist. I want to go see my orthopedic doctor who's going to operate on my knee, right? Of course. And so when we talk about other advisors not necessarily talking about Roth conversions, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're not qualified to be a financial advisor. It doesn't mean that they don't know what they're doing, but they may just not be specialized in handling the tax side of things and the income planning side of things for the future. So I know we're running a little bit short on time here, but let's open up the phone lines one more time for today's show. It's 833-308-5200. If you are concerned that you don't know what your taxes are going to do in retirement, if you're concerned that taxes are going to eat up your income in retirement, you got to visit retiremaryland.com, scan the QR code, you get a complimentary copy of the book. You can also dial in 833-308-5200, set up that complimentary, no obligation visit with Ozzy, myself, and our fantastic team at Elite Income Advisors. Hope to see everybody in the office sometime soon.
Prashant, thank you. Ozzy, thank you. To our viewers at home, thank you for watching. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you back next week on Retire Smart Maryland.